I give the stage now to Alex. If you want to introduce yourself and tell us more about the future of jobs according to your perspective as a professor. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Stephanie, and thank you very much, Sarah Bermudez, for the great invitation. It is really a pleasure to be part of this wonderful event you guys put together. I think it's very inspirational and also shaping for the future of humanity in some ways. And of course, artificial intelligence, machine learning, deep learning, all these key ingredients that kind of they gonna shape the future are part of past life that maybe we didn't notice, but also way more present than ever these days. So briefly about myself, I'm a curious person, and I have a background in physics. So I finished physics. I did research in UK in Aston University. If you guys like Aston Villa or soccer, I'm sure you do, especially people from Germany. I did work also in Bochum at Düsseldorf and some other places in Europe. And now I'm in Australia working on sensors. So that's my main focus. My PhD is in data science, so machine learning, when machine learning and artificial intelligence was not yet defined. That was about 2004. It was defined, but it was not a buzzword. Let's say it maybe in a better way. And my PhD was working on using supercomputers and grid computing on solving problems like nano engines that have efficiency close to 100%. And most of the work involved parallel programming. So writing codes for high performance computers and later for grid computing. And as part of that also, I joined IBM, worked for IBM for a few years, using some of the biggest supercomputers in the world, trying to solve some of the most challenging data science problems. So I think the most we used about 1.5 million CPUs to solve simple problems. Or some simple problems actually can be very complex. But imagine you play a game. I don't play games that much, but usually I play games on supercomputers. So try to see how maybe different the heart functions and how you can optimize the heart function, or maybe how a propeller on a boat or a ship creates these bubbles cavity, and also even studying champagne or beer, because I guess most of you are from Germany, you like beer. So and I did study beer for 3 years, beers and champagne, and you can imagine get money from IBM for that, and study how bubbles are formed in champagne and beer, and how bubbles go around up and down based on if you have Guinness or if you have other types of beers, and what drives the bubbles movement, and not only studying them, but looking at them at atomic level. So collecting huge amount of data and understanding the mechanisms that drive beer, the bubbles in beers, and maybe how beer would taste in an airplane or in a submarine. Of course, in a submarine, you might not have any bubbles, which is another story. And currently I'm working with Australia Defence and on sensors, looking at something that maybe I cannot tell you more than this, except that we're working on the next generation of the future of sensors around the world. So that is my main focus, data science, but also applied and integrated in systems that we build. And I'm not 100% sure from my, there are many aspects that artificial intelligence will touch our life. and already touched our life. Maybe we didn't realize it's around us for a long time. But now it's maybe or is made more visible to us. Even maybe one aspect that I think artificial intelligence will shape the way our life evolves, and also maybe the future of work, because the future of work, I guess, or the influence of artificial intelligence on future of work is one of the main topic of today's discussion. There are many examples, but if I pick up one, would be augmented humans or augmented humans, in the way that how humans will be, and they already are. We already all augmented by artificial intelligence in a different way, through our mobiles, through our gadgets that we carry around, through our computers, through different devices. But of course, augmentation goes deeper than that. One aspect that I was actually involved, and it started in 1995 in Germany, first time, interestingly, is artificial retina. If you know, people that have macular degeneration or macular lutea or Usher syndrome, there are 3 diseases that lead to blindness. In 2001, I was working in the UK, 2001, 2002, developing this artificial retina that people can put inside their eyes and they can see. So in 2003 was the first experiment we actually carried out, and people that never seen in their life, they could actually see. And it's a simple, to some extent simple, system where you have a camera that captured the image, and using optical lasers, of course, in infrared spectrum, they transform the information, the image, to a artificial retina, which looks like a solar cell, but is super small on a flexible that simulates the retina, a flexible plastic, and it creates the image. And there are more details into that, but that's one type of augmentation of humans to see. But if you go beyond that, of course, that technology now it's used to see forward, to see backward, but also it can augment us to see things that we actually don't see, because we see only in our visible spectrum. But imagine you can see in infrared, you can see in other frequency bands, you can see maybe further distances. Maybe you can see the moon in very clear details. So augmentation, I think, is driven a lot by artificial intelligence, but also is connected with sensors and other components that make the future different. Also, it helps us face the future, which the truth is going to be, it is already challenging for many people in different industries, because artificial intelligence and robotics and other technologies take humans' job to some extent, which and usually it takes humans' job that are not adapted. So if you're self-worried about that, you should not be worried, but instead think about all these facilities that are around, and get ready, prepare, and because the truth being said, we all humans won't change that fast. And as long as we keep up with the new technologies, with the new requirements, we would never be taken over by artificial intelligence or robots. So it's not something to be afraid of, but people wrote about this, and there are different discussions. It's going to be blood, in the way that people are going to suffer. Many people are going to suffer. Maybe elderly people, people that already learned and worked in the industry for so many years, and they don't have the flexibility to adapt to the new requirements of the society. But as long as we keep being flexible and focused on what we see the future offers, I think artificial intelligence won't be a challenge, and robotics and all this, but it's going to augment our capacity to create a better world. And of course, using our creativity, which I think robots still have a long way to achieve what a human can do, but not what a human that doesn't have a training in creativity can do. But a human that trains his creativity to do, or his design thinking way of designing the new world, I think should not be a challenge. I think we should not see artificial intelligence or robotics or digital technologies as a threat, but as a source that is going to augment our future. So I think that there are so many other aspects that can go into details. And maybe one of them, I'm very connected to nature, and I hope you all are. So one aspect that is not only beneficial, but also can be a threat to humans is our connection to digital space and technologies. And I love nature, and I like to go, like tomorrow, I go to have a long hike in the nature. The last weekend I did canoeing on some rocky rivers. So I really like to connect to that, to nature. And I realize many of us, they become more connected to artificial intelligence or AI or robots or our laptops and our iPads, and we forget about connecting to nature. So we develop so many robots that can destroy the nature. And I think this is one of the danger of artificial intelligence and digital technologies. And if we look at some of the Einstein's affirmations, he said, look in the nature and you'll understand everything better. So that is very important. And of course, nature, I believe, is one of the most advanced artificial intelligence system. And I should recall one of the most famous German scientists. He created a theory called the Müllerian theory. His name is Fritz Müller. In 1878, he created a theory, and he studied the evolution of butterflies. And as most of you know, in artificial intelligence, you look at patterns, you look at multiple images, and try to derive new patterns, or have a learning algorithm that maybe improves the patterns that are part of the database. So what he did, he looked at at many butterflies, and recently some people in Cambridge study his mathematical model, which is one of the oldest mathematical model for the butterflies in nature. And they identify how butterflies evolved over maybe hundreds of years, and how they copy similar patterns in their wings. So they blend with the nature, so they avoid dangers. And I think artificial intelligence is very similar with that, in the way that we're gonna look at data, extract intelligence, maybe have a better prediction on the financial flow on the market, maybe create better environmental systems, like better places to live in. And the same, but nature does this for a long time, for millions of years. So I think there is a lot that we can learn from nature. So I encourage you to really keep up with the technology and be ready for the changes that artificial intelligence and robotics and other will bring, but also look deep into the nature. And I'm sure you will be amazed, and you'll find amazing things that can inspire you to create technologies that maybe nobody else created, and will give you amazing ideas. I actually have an international company that I started by being inspired by electric fish, which is kind of funny, but it did inspire me, and I created an IoT technology based on that. There are many other complexity behind it. So to say that, let's not be afraid of artificial intelligence, but embrace it and be ready for the changes of the future.
Thank you so much, Alex.
If you'd have any questions, of course, and if I can answer them, I'll be happy to. If not, maybe you can keep the conversation after that.
We have the Q&A at the end.
Yes.
We have a...
Sure.
So the idea is that we leave it for the after we do the whole run, and then we can go to questions. Yeah. Okay. Thank you so much, Alexa. Okay.
you.
Now I'm happy to welcome Christoph. Christoph,
Yes.
we are very interested in learning about you.
Yes, yes, and I have prepared 2 slides.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah, they're actually in your.
If who, if you.
No, it's a PPT.
Exactly. So, Estefania already told you what connects us, that Estefania established her own series of events because she likes to not only talk about ideas, but actually work on them, you know, while I'm too lazy, at least in my own format, you know, to actually help people fix something. I'd rather strike out and describe what needs to be fixed. So you want to have like the full presentation, yeah? That's right. And so knowing that or knowing Estefania's format that she created 7 years ago, there's several things that are great about it, that I think are great about it. Number one, instead of, I don't know, asking questions or looking for help, be the one who offers help and starts working on stuff. That's exactly what Estefania does. And now 7 years later, she has hosted dozens of meetups that hundreds of people has become a celebrity of the Berlin episode in her own right. So that is fantastic. The other aspect that I like about it is that Estefania is Spanish, not German. Her audience is mostly non-Germans, I would say. So when I prepared for this session here, I was kind of anticipating that I might be the only thoroughbred German in the room. You know, and when I looked at the other participants, you know, like in the panel, that already confirmed my suspicion. I suppose that a few of you who are like me, born and raised, but I guess most of you aren't. And I think it's perfectly great because moving to a big city like Berlin, you want to have touch points that make it easier for you to, you know, talk to people who understand, who can help you in questions that, or again, with problems that the local dude might not even know about. So that is another aspect why Estefania is setting out, creating her own series of events is so fantastic. The content, but then it's also the audience. That said, it also shaped my approach to what I'm going to talk about here. You already saw the slides. I see myself a little bit as an ambassador, or like as a translator, like of the official German side of things when talking about jobs and artificial intelligence, because again, I kind of anticipated that you guys would normally not be raised in the northern German empty countryside in a small village. So there might be some sort of translation necessary. And so I brought 2 aspects here that I want to stress. And yes, they are connected to AI, but maybe in a different way than you anticipate. I mean, I just think that everybody in this room is here because they are enthusiastic or excited or genuinely interested about what's going on with this technology. And I guess many of you have already tinkered and tried tools, ChatGPT or Midjourney. I have been doing this for half a year or more, too, maybe as much as a year already, but that's not a lot of time. Yeah? So on that aspect, I'm very much like you. Like I'm constantly fascinated by what's going on. I'm constantly like back when I was 5 or 6 and, you know, tinkering around like with scissors and paper and trying out stuff, and some works, others doesn't work, or results in stuff that I had no idea, you know, could come out of this. So that's how I'm going about this as well, like everybody, because the speed of technology is so lightning fast that nobody has yet found a stable platform from which to work and shape the future and be sure about what's going on. So in that respect, I'm very much like you. I'm searching, in other words, I'm searching for meaning, for that stability maybe, or for like a lead to the future, also in the workplace. And in that vein, some 6 weeks ago, I hosted a week-long masterclass with some of the leading thinkers about implementation and the commercial science behind artificial intelligence in Spain in March. So I'm really trying to not only be curious and kind of dilettante in this, I really try also to get to the ground, to the, like to the reason of things. But that also keeps me aware that I am among a very small group of people who are that much interested and who care at all. And I'm very much aware that for most people, and that's what this first slide about is, for most people, this is a disturbance. This is something or the next wave of stuff that nobody asked for, that is only going to make it job more difficult by demanding new stuff that you were kind of not hired to work with. Most people have settled down or settled with something that they have been working on or with for years, and everything that we think is progress, again, for them is an assault on the status quo, on a status quo that everybody is living very well with. And that's why the headline of this slide is Workplace Germany couldn't care less about AI. Nobody out there is waiting for this. Most people don't even think that anything needs to be fixed. And I brought you 3 points to support that. Number 1, this year is the impressive increase of jobs in German bureaucracy. We have added 500,000 jobs in Germany that are entirely paid by your and my taxes, that are not at all creative. 500,000 paid out of taxpayers' money until 2021, between 2010. If we start in 2010, 2021, and none of these jobs will be replaced or endangered by artificial intelligence. They are, this is a stable, self-sustaining system that is going to survive any assault of progress, as bureaucracies are apt to do. So that's already a total of 5,100,000 people in Germany who don't care at all about what influence AI will have on jobs. This year are the results of a recent study of ZEW, that's an economics research institute, and describes Germany's position among the 21 leading economies in the world. We are 18th, as you can see. What did you do?
We're not sharing the screen on Zoom.
Okay, well, I'm continuing nonetheless. So we're 18th, and what's especially striking, I think, for me is, again, stuff that has nothing to do with AI. Germany has the highest taxes or the second highest taxes in developing nations. It has the 18th out of 21 most effective energy policy. So all of these things are of such a fundamental nature, and they describe what the presentation mode is. That not an option?
No.
Okay. Well then, so
yes.
why I'm telling you this is that I believe that the things that are going to shape our work environment in the upcoming years are those. They have nothing to do with artificial intelligence. They are all politically wanted. Extract ever more taxes out of the system, put the system under ever more compliance pressure, don't modernize, squeeze out the max out of something that has been running for decades. That is something that's going to shape everybody's future much more, all of the 96%, large amount of workers in Germany than any artificial intelligence will. And I'm telling that to you as non-Germans, especially, because I don't know, I think foreigners have a much too positive image of what's going on in Germany. It's actually quite disheartening. And the third point that I'm bringing you here, and you've already seen it, is the amount of founders. new companies founded in Germany. Yeah? And you can see how that is like a reflection of the first two. Yeah? Those are the things that really shape our work future, our workplace future. If you are looking for jobs in the German big economy, you are in an economy that will amass ever more bureaucrats, get ever worse on the commercial side, and draw ever more people into exactly this stable old system. I don't know if you noticed in German media that particularly those guys, like the bureaucrats and the guys running infrastructure and energy, they have just they just struck a deal to increase their own salaries by 10%. That's also coming out of their pockets. So to 96% of Germans, AI-related workplace change is a nuisance. And they want to postpone it until after they're gone, after out of the system. That is the reality in which we live. So everyone in this room is a member of a very tiny minority. And I'm really making this point to a little bit counter the enthusiasm that I'm feeling myself about the new technology and the excitement that probably you too feel about it. Because everything that happens will have to be pushed through against the collective will of 96% of Germans. That's a bit disheartening, I think, but it's necessary to understand our future, the workplace future, the job future, is going to be shaped much more by political will and action, rules and compliance, particularly in Germany, than it will by artificial intelligence. That said, according to me, for the remaining 4%, we are about to enter a golden age. And I have a feeling that everybody in this room is part of the 4%, right? I don't know, you can tell me later. I certainly am, right? I've never aimed for a career in a large organization. For me, working for the state on taxpayers' money is hellish. I mean, I would never. There's also like a breakdown, I think of, again, I hate it, right? I'm also part of the 4%, just like you are. And why is that? There are so many reasons, and Alexa already gave you a few of them, why the technology that's now arriving is an enabler to the 4%. Again, I'm saying it's an enabler to the 4%, not to the 96%. For 96%, it's a nuisance, but for us, it's the most powerful tool that we have been given in the past 20 years. To me, it's like the second big technology push that I'm living with or living through after the arrival of HTML and TCP/IP. So basically after the invention of the internet. And one aspect that I'm very keen to see and that you also should look at if you're looking for a future or to improve your chances or to become rich, because again, like if it's true that most of you are not Germans, you will have to find, or you're more likely, I guess, to find a road outside of this established system than if you were like me, thoroughbred German. Those are my favorite topics. There are only 3 among many, but I will give you 2 of them for you to maybe work on or look deeper into, because those are the ones that I like most. There's going to be, or we are on the verge of creating a personalization industry. Everything, every story, every format, every game, every film, and every kind of pornography is going to be personalized to a level that we have not yet seen before. Simply by, stating something like, give me Don Quixote, but as a science fiction story in the Star Wars universe. Ding dong, there's your story. Same goes for alternative endings in movies. I'm very much, like from experience, I know that pornography is actually one of the first areas where technology always makes an impact, because the industry is so fast to react. And there is such a high demand. None of you, of course, but the other 7 billion, apparently. And that is going to be one of the first places where we want to see what happens if every single person gets a highly personalized version of what's possible. It's essentially like, like in the health industry, everybody will agree that the future lies in personalized medicine. Medicine that has been designed according to your genes and to your individual bodies. That is going to happen in the entire content world as well. That's the first example. That's going to create massive amounts of jobs for all of you, and well-paying jobs. science and research. That is something that's happening under the hood. I work a lot with Germany's largest chemicals company, BASF. And so I know a little bit about how extremely difficult it is to develop new materials with new characteristics, particularly now that so many materials need to be reinvented in a sustainable way, or like a recyclable way, if you want. And every process starts with hundreds to thousands of experiments that go wrong, that fail. AI is already on the verge of reducing these thousands of futile attempts to a dozen options that researchers can start with. Like the amount of technological output on the chemistry and materials side that AI enables is going to blow us all away. And you know, none of us, as long as we're not like in a laboratory in Ludwigshafen, knows about it now, but wait another year and then just follow the news. Just yesterday, I read an article about a new form of Wasserstoff, how do you say that? Exactly, has been discovered, that which is not gaseous, but also not firm. You know, that's simply because the arrangement of an experiment, like under high pressure and with low temperature, has been accidentally realigned by AI. Boom! Now we have like a new material that the world can be built on. And that was just last week. So if you are in the field of research and science, or do anything that relies on testing and testing again, or inventing stuff, you will be the new billionaires. Third example, software development. I'm such a big fan. I mean, it has already started on like the lowest level, if you will, that many people are already using are content management systems. I think some of you have already heard about, you know, like 2 weeks after I heard about ChatGPT, there were already like half a dozen website creators that could do everything that Wix or Jimdo could do, simply only by you typing in what you want to have and click, you got it entirely with several subpages and all the design and the colors and the text nicely spaced. But that's only the beginning. You know, like software that writes software where you specify the development environment, the hardware that you want to run it on, and the purpose. Click and you got it. That enables essentially anyone in the world to be a software developer, even you at home. That also is going to be one massive new industry, creating millions of jobs. So ultimately, if you are neither a scientist, that's the final good news that I have to all of you. If you're neither a scientist, nor a pornographer, nor a software developer, then rest assured, all of these products, all of them need marketing and packaging, and design, and teaching, and implementation, and user experience. So there we are. The 96% are going to be against everything, and they're going to sleep their sleep, as they have always done, only firmer. But for the 4% of us, this is the moment.
Thank you so much, Christoph. Okay, now I have the pleasure to give them the stage to Subu.
Sorry, I'm just going to set up the Zoom. There. Yep. Perfect.
Thank you.
Sorry.
I have to say before I introduce myself, when I saw the first slide of Christoph, I was a bit depressed. I was like, man, why did I come to Germany? And but I have to say the second slide. You know, my name is Sukantan Sekar. I come from India. Bit of a tongue twister, my name, but you can all call me Subu, if that's easier. I am a senior data scientist at Lead Machine Learning, which is a data science consultancy in Berlin, and we help companies improve their processes using AI. Quickly about myself, I have a background in mechanical engineering, bachelor's in mechanical engineering, and a master's in data science. And I've been working with AI models for the past 2 years. And why am I here today? ChatGPT API was released 2 months ago, and I've been working with the API closely to build products the last 2 months. So I have an understanding of how these large language models like ChatGPT work, what are the things that they can do, what are the things that they cannot do. So I'm really looking forward to sharing my thoughts here, and also to understand what you all think of ChatGPT and your thoughts as well. Before we get started, let's get clear on the terminologies. Let's start with what AI is. Yeah? AI is human intelligence simulated by machines. Yeah? This is what AI is. And it's not a new phenomenon. We've been doing this for the last 60, 70 years in rudimentary fashion initially, and in really large scale in the last 20 years. ChatGPT, as we know it, is a small part of AI. It's not equivalent to AI. This is the first thing that we need to know. ChatGPT is a class of algorithms called language models under AI, and what they're good at is understanding text and generating text. Now, this is what ChatGPT does. It's fascinating how ChatGPT works. It's also scary. It's so good by how it works. So ChatGPT, what it does is, it based on the text that you give, it predicts the next word. Yeah, and then it predicts the next word after that, and then it predicts the next word after that. It's crazy that it can write poems, raps, all by predicting the next word. Yeah, and this is a big surprise, even for people who are working in the field. I have been building text-based models even before ChatGPT came, like many people in my field. And the day I worked with ChatGPT, my mind was blown away. I thought this was at least 50 years away, and I couldn't believe it's already here. You know? Yeah, so let's understand why ChatGPT is good. Because of a couple of reasons. The first reason is it's trained on a lot of data. It's basically trained on most of the internet, around 600 gigabytes of text from the internet. This includes articles, news, websites, books, YouTube transcripts, you name it, tweets, Reddit threads, everything. This is why it has like a wide variety of topics that it can talk about. And the second reason why it's good is it's huge. Yeah, in the way it's designed, it has 175 billion parameters. So parameters means the number of things it considers before giving you a response. Yeah, so when you ask a question, these 175 billion parameters, this is 175 followed by 9 zeros. It's considering so many things before it gives you an answer. This is why it's so good. And this is also why these models are called large language models, because they are really large. And another big breakthrough with ChatGPT is it was trained on human feedback. It's called reinforcement learning through human feedback. Basically, it's a technical terminology, but basically what it boils down to is it's trained to write text that is believable, that can be believed that it was written by a human. This is why ChatGPT writes things that is very believable, but not accurate sometimes. Yeah, because it's not optimized for accuracy, but to write things that are human-like. And these are the couple of breakthroughs that enabled ChatGPT to be what it is today. Yeah. And in order to understand what jobs will be impacted by ChatGPT, this understanding is important, because ChatGPT at the outset is a language model. Yeah, so you can of course augment ChatGPT with image understanding capabilities, other capabilities, but at the outset it's a language model, which means it can understand and generate language. So many jobs that depend on these two functions will be impacted. And impact is not always bad, it can also be good. Let's, unlike this talk, I'm not going to talk about AI's impact as a whole, but rather specifically to ChatGPT's impact, yeah, on jobs. So let's look at a couple of examples. Content creation is one function that is and will continue to be impacted by language models like ChatGPT. Microsoft, I think last month, released a service called Copilot for Microsoft 365. This lets you generate content like never before. Basically, imagine you run a company and you want to do a press release for the feature that you've been building. You can basically say, pull up all my notes from the last week about feature X, create a press release, and then it pulls all your PowerPoints, Word docs, and then creates a press release, and then formats it for you in your company's letterhead. All of this happens just by asking. So I think there will be a huge disruption, or there will continue to be a lot of disruptions in content creation. Second area, for example, is customer service, for instance. Pre-ChatGPT, how many of you have used chatbots on websites and were like, man, this is so dumb? I was one of them. They are they used to be very dumb. Still, some websites still have them. Excuse me. And the reason is, previously, when you wanted to build a chatbot, you need to write scripts, right? So you need to anticipate all the questions that you would get and then write answers for all of these questions. This is why these chatbots were not able to answer all questions that you would ask. Most of the times they would say, no, I don't know the answer. I'm going to hand you over to a human. Yeah, then you wait for 5 minutes for a human to come. Now, what has changed is ChatGPT can understand a lot of information in real time and generate answer in real time. So the chatbots that, like for instance, at my work that we create for companies currently are much more intelligent than the chatbots that even we ourselves created a couple of years ago. So this would be disrupted. So most of the customer queries would go through a chatbot like ChatGPT. And then if it cannot solve, for instance, then it would go to humans. So a human in customer service who attended to 100 queries a day would attend to, I don't know, 10 queries a day. And this is actually a good thing because they can actually do customer service instead of answering people's questions day in, day out. Now they can actually talk to humans. I once met somebody who worked in customer service who said, I never meet or like talk to my customers. All I do every day is answer or process customer requests. Yeah, so they never get time to talk to people. I think this will unlock huge productivity boosts, and this would help them be more present for the customer. Yeah, so this is a good thing. And what else? Legal, for instance, where there is a lot of text, you would have to pass through a lot of text before you can make an argument. There is interestingly a startup in the US called Do Not Pay. Basically what they do is they give you headphones, you put the headphones on and then you go to court, and then the chatbot in the background hears what's happening in the court and then advises you what to say. You say that, and then somebody else replies, it gets transcribed, goes back to the chatbot again tells you, okay, argue this. Now this is happening real time. And I think there was already a case where this chatbot helped somebody with their parking fine or something like this. Yeah, so simple cases now, but I think this will become huge. Yeah. So yeah, anything that has to do with language understanding or language generation will be impacted, and I think there will also be a lot of new jobs that would be generated. For instance, my title, data scientist, as I know, it did not exist 20, 30 years ago. Yeah. Now you see data scientists in every corner of Berlin. There are so many people who are data scientists here. So I think similarly with these emerging language model technologies, there will be new job titles that would be coming up. For instance, AI prompt generators. So these chatbots, they have a funny quirk. You need to talk to them properly, otherwise they don't give you the right answer. Yeah? So people who know how to talk to these chatbots will have their own jobs. It's hard to believe that this will happen. Yeah, so I think there will be a lot of productivity that is being unlocked for people for jobs that already exist, and there'll be new jobs that will be created as well. And sadly, of course, some jobs would become redundant, and that's why it's important to not close your eye, like not be the 96% like Christoph said, but be open and to experiment with this technology and see how it can help you. Yeah. And it is now accessible like never before. You don't have to program, you don't have to code. All you need to do is type, and then you get answers from the chatbots. Finally, okay, you could say, super, this is all good. Will chatbots take over the world? This is a huge topic of research and debate in the AI world. This is technically called AI alignment. And AI alignment means, how do I ensure the AI that I build is aligned with my values, with human values. The idea is if the AI is aligned with human values, even if it becomes more intelligent than humans, it won't harm humans because it's aligned with human values. This is the idea, the premise. And you would see this in practice even now. There will be people on Reddit, for instance, who try to make ChatGPT say things that are not right, and then say, okay, see, ChatGPT said this is not okay. Yeah, this is also an alignment problem. How do you ensure ChatGPT is respectful, polite to people? There has been a lot of work that's going on here. And to be honest, there is no consensus. We don't know how to fully align AIs. This is why there is a fear, reasonably so, that they would become very intelligent and they would have the capabilities to harm us. One simple example, if you, for instance, give access to a language model to make bank transfers for you, and if somebody else gets access to this, or if the chatbot optimizes the wrong thing, it can, for instance, make transfers that you did not intend to. This could happen, for instance. So there could be many ways they might harm us, but of course, I don't think there is a need to stop AI research. You might have heard Elon Musk and Steve Wozniak and multiple other famous people in the field, they signed a petition to stop AI research for 6 months. I think it's, either they see something that we don't. I think there is no reason to stop, but it's definitely important to be careful. It's definitely something that we need to think about while building with these large language models. My concluding thoughts, I think overall, the invention of these large language models like ChatGPT is a net positive for humanity. And like Christoph, I also believe this is a huge step, like the invention of the internet or the iPhone. This has already changed things. I think this will continue to change the way we do things. And I'm really excited for the future. I'm really happy to look through this. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Especially for me, I mean, I work as a senior transformation manager, and I completely relate to your thoughts about chatbots. We can talk about it later. Okay, and now I would like to invite Said. Said is coming from Slovenia, and he's online. Maybe we can, Stefania, how we can make the screen is, can we do that? So that people can also see Said.
Yep, I think that's it. And by the way, yes, we will share. Sorry, we will share the slides afterwards. The 2 slides, exactly. Yeah, I think if you talk, Said, then we'll see.
Can you hear me?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Here you are.
Thank you, Stefania.
Thank you.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for having me. It's a pleasure to be here. My name is Said, and I am an aviation engineer by degree, but I transited into Web3 space back in 2016. Since then, I have been helping businesses to expand their knowledge on Web3, metaverse, blockchain, NFT, and of course, recently AI. For example, educating their employees about Web3, helping them to transit from Web2 space into Web3, growing their community, helping with marketing ideas such as growth hack strategy, developing a go-to-market strategy, building a strategic partnership for them, creating collaboration, and of course, connecting them with investors. The intersection of AI and metaverse has the potential to revolutionize many professions in the upcoming years. It can impact many industries. For example, gaming and entertainment. AI will help create immersive and realistic gaming experience in the metaverse with dynamic environments, non-playable characters, and personalized storytelling. Next would be healthcare. AI-powered virtual assistants which can provide remote consultation, assist with patient monitoring, they can analyze data and predict diseases. The metaverse can also be used for therapy and rehabilitation. Or education. AI can personalize the learning experience for each student in the metaverse with like virtual assistants, customized learning paths, and progress tracking. Also, if we take, for example, real estate, the metaverse can create virtual real estate using AI with photorealistic virtual properties that can be viewed and toured by potential buyers. Or retail, AI can personalize the shopping experience in the metaverse with recommendation, personalized discounts, and virtual showrooms. There will be also many other opportunities, for example, for developers, designers, and entrepreneurs to create innovative application and experience in the metaverse using AI. Also, AI and blockchain can drive innovation across various industries. For example, supply chain management. The integration of AI and blockchain can create a more transparent and efficient supply chain, or financial services, or identity management. Like the integration of AI and blockchain can improve identity management and data privacy. So by leveraging the unique strengths of these technologies, businesses and organizations, we can create more secure, efficient, and transparent system that can drive growth and value in the near future. Now, let's talk about how businesses can leverage the metaverse. For example, enhanced customer engagement. The metaverse offers businesses a new platform to engage with their customers in an immersive and interactive ways. Or it can be a new revenue streams. The metaverse can create a new revenue stream for businesses through a virtual real estate or virtual real goods and digital assets. It can be also a collaborative workspace. The metaverse can facilitate remote collaboration and teamwork, creating a new type of virtual workspace. Next, it can be like data analytics. The metaverse generates vast amount of data that can be used for analytics and insights. Also, it can be for like marketing and advertising. The metaverse offers businesses a new platform to create immersive and interactive marketing activities inside of the metaverse. Furthermore, of course, for recruitment and training, the metaverse can be used for recruitment and training, providing a new way to onboard and train new employees. So now, my personal vision and prediction of the future of jobs. There are jobs that may be eliminated, like such as manual labor, data entry and processing, customer service, proofread, bookkeeper, translator, copywriter, maybe a social media manager and email marketer, maybe a telemarketer, travel agent, tutor, recruiter, and many more. But there are a few potential jobs that may also appear, like digital and cybersecurity specialists, data analysts and scientists, AI and robotic specialists, creative and social skills, maybe an AI trainer, such as, for example, I think it will be for ChatGPT, prompt engineer, which I think, in my opinion, it will be huge, with high salary, or blockchain analyst. It can be also a virtual reality developer. So I think it was a few days ago, IBM announces plans to replace 7,800 jobs with AI. And I think more other companies will also follow very soon. So now the question is how to adapt. There are many ways: by digital literacy, continuous learning, flexibility and adaptability, emotional intelligence. Like, learn about AI and blockchain. Start by educating yourself about the basics of AI and blockchain technology. There are many online resources available, including articles, videos, and online courses that can help you get started. For resources, you can find my post about the top 6 free courses on AI to get you massively ahead. There are also URL and everything else you need. Next, identify relevant job roles. Look for job roles that match your interest, your skill, and your experience. Consider exploring job posting and description for AI and blockchain related jobs to get you a better sense of the requirement and qualification. You can also build relevant skills. Once you have identified job roles that you are interested in, focus on building the necessary skills and knowledge. This may involve taking courses or maybe a certification in AI, blockchain development, maybe data privacy and other related areas. Also, you can gain practical experience. Like, for example, try to gain practical experience working with AI and blockchain technology. This may involve participating in open source projects, or building your own applications, or simply collaborating with others on AI and blockchain projects. And of course, network and connect with others, such as we are doing here, attending these events. So join online communities, network with others in the field. This can help you to stay up to date on the other latest trends and development, as well as connect you with potential employers or collaborators. Now, remember that adapting to new technologies and job roles requires ongoing learning and development. So stay curious, stay informed, and continue to build your skills and knowledge in these exciting and rapidly evolving areas. So my conclusion is that the metaverse and AI have the potential to create new digital economy that can drive innovation, growth, and of course, value for businesses and also, of course, for individuals. It is up to you to embrace these changes, adapt, and acquire the necessary skills to succeed in this new digital age. Thank you for listening.
Guys, there is no tone for us in the virtual world.
We cannot hear you guys. I thought it's just me.
No, that's
Now.
What about
okay. Now it works. Thank you very much.
Okay. So as I was saying, I'm a bit nervous because all the points that I was going to talk about today have been already explored several times by now. To give you a little bit of context about me, I am working right on the other side of the streets in a coding bootcamp called Le Wagon. I've been doing that first in Paris and now in Berlin and all German campuses actually. So by now, what I do is that I take the students at the end of the training and I help them find a job either in companies. So I create partnerships with potential partners. I teach them how to do a CV, a cover letter, all types of things that they need to go through the job search.
But before that, I have a background in historiography and political science. I also grew up in a period of time where, I mean, the fear of being replaced by AI has been permanent into popular culture since I can remember, from Terminator to Her to any other number of movies. So this is a very exciting time for us. And I just wanted to share my thoughts also in terms of, I mean, since I work at the crossroads of HR and tech, what AI and and ChatGPT and stuff like that can mean for us, because some of these things are going to change just the tech. Some of them are going to affect the entire workforce, the 96% versus the 4%. By the way, I think anyone that has had to make an middle appointment is not very happy about the German administration. So, but yeah, basically, what I've noticed is that it's true that ChatGPT, AI is going to change things around. We talked about content creation, about translation with Said. And all of these is basically the manual entry that we were doing before. I know certainly that in our coding bootcamp, we are using ChatGPT, Notion AI, and even DALL-E sometimes a lot. So it is part fun, but also because there are a lot of things that it can already do better. Gather basic level data and make sure that we're not missing anything, avoiding typos, formatting our random thoughts into a coherent train of thoughts is something that it can do sometimes a lot better than us. But most of the time, these functions, these responsibilities are just things that we do that prevent us from going to the core of our jobs, meaning thinking about what we're doing, why we're doing it, basically what problem we are trying to solve every day so that other people, so that a group can live better or do their function, their own job better than they did yesterday. Here, for instance, in my current job, writing down all the notes that the people I coach, and making sure that what I'm about to offer them is coherent is something that can be partly replaced by AI. But it doesn't solve the main problem. How do I make sure that what I teach them is in line with the current job industry? How do I enable them to keep learning through their job and their career so that the next time they need to do a career change, they are able to do it at least partly without me or even by themselves completely. Basically, right now, what ChatGPT and AI are doing is getting rid of the unqualified aspects of our job so that we, as trained people, as experts, as people who have been in industry sometimes for decades, can get to the core of our job and do it better. I forgot what I was about to say. Yeah, basically, yeah, then of course, in education, since I have coached over 1,200 students by now, there are things that we will be completely replaced and I won't have to think about it, but it's almost good riddance. What I need to be aware of as an educator, as a coach, as a recruiter, is how to train the students that I have so that they can use those tools efficiently. Because those tools have a few caveats. The first one is that it is still not, I mean, those tools are 6 months to 2 years old, the ones we've been talking about the entire time. So they still have not permeated the industry a lot. There's a lot of companies that are afraid of them, that do not use them a lot, anywhere close to what they could do. So those people, those industries are unlikely to evolve as fast as we are afraid they will. And it gives us time to think about how to do that implementation correctly. The second one is that in the case of ChatGPT, for instance, it is entirely dependent on the user's ability to create a correct prompt. We've seen some errors with, for instance, ChatGPT and plagiarism, or ChatGPT inventing when has to drive sources or give sources from academia, inventing absolute non-existent papers because it was supposed to be the most likely word after the word that you were doing. So it is a tool that has limitations, and as such, we need to train ourselves on those limitations so that if we are talking about HR or education, we can train our employees, our graduates, or the people next to us to use those tools efficiently. So sure, it is getting rid of unqualified jobs or functions at the very least. But at the same time, it just means that we finally have the opportunity to get rid of those manual entry things that were a waste of time, and finally get into the why we do our job and how to train ourselves, how to become more qualified into what we were supposed to do in the first place. So yeah, my final thoughts would be, it is changing things, but at least for now, for the better. But now that we can finally talk about why we do things and create a consistent, a coherent vision in terms of companies, in terms of regulations, we have the opportunity of driving the change forward for something that is better for human and not just try to catch up with our technology. So yeah, that's it. Thank you very much.
So yeah, thank you, everyone. It was very interesting. I think now we have many thoughts, and many of you probably want to ask some questions, I hope. So yeah, so let's open the Q&A, and who want to start with the first question?
Why not to come on stage? Okay. Well, thank you so much. My name is Mustafa Gordon. I'm a writer. I do appreciate everything that the smart room has to offer, you know, but what we're all lacking to recognize is the danger of it. For example, I'm a writer, and I have a deadline by Monday to finish an entire chapter, and I asked ChatGPT, whatever the fuck, the one with the green logo, and it finished an entire chapter for me. I read it back and it made no sense. Like, are we not seeing somewhat of a danger in this mechanism? Like, yes, of course, it's going to give us something good, it's going to make our jobs easier, but are we not seeing something that's not only taking away jobs from people who actually need it, but like just a general danger in general? Like, I'm sorry, but like, I want to thank the person that invited me here, because I do think it's a great thing, but at the same time, as much as I do believe in everything that has been said so far by like the peers and everything, I do think that this is somewhat of a very dangerous thing that we're believing in right now. And I don't think that 100% of our belief and 100% of our energy should be put on, oh, ChatGPT, whatever the fuck is gonna like help us gain an easier existence, you know? So sorry, like, it's just somewhat bullshit. Sorry.
Can I answer this question?
Thank you so much for yeah.
Can I quickly answer?
Yes, of course. I wanted to ask you if you guys want to just.
Yeah, first of all, I have to say your concern is very valid.
It's very terrifying because
It is.
from the people, it's like it's not even funny when you think about it, you know?
Of course.
As much helpful as it is, you know, but at the end of the day, we are taking jobs from, like, for example, when I walk into a McDonald's and the McDonald's, like, instead of talking to a cashier, I'm talking to a screen. That doesn't need to be done, you know? It's like, it's just kind of terrifying. I'm sorry.
I mean, it's partly progress and partly
Yeah, progress, but when an entire system writes a chapter for a book that is going to be under my name, when I ask a system to write an entire chapter and it gets under my name, that's terrifying.
It is. I think like the point here is, like I said, it writes things so that it's believable, but it can be that it's not accurate.
It's unbelievable that it's actually terrifying.
It is. But like I think I think your concerns are valid. It's Yeah, like some people will lose jobs, but like some people will also have their jobs easier, like Simon said, because you don't have to do the mundane stuff. Yeah, you can focus on things that are creative, things that can actually add value instead of replying to an email that a bot can do.
That's what I mean. It's like replying to an email. That email is going to be sent under my name, and like I have a robot doing it for me. I don't even know what that robot is saying.
Yeah, but it has been happening for a while. All the emails that we get from, I don't know, companies, nobody's writing them. We are already getting this from.
Sorry, I did not mean to come off of it as a negative, but I have so many questions that are like, this is just my character. I'm a bit more of an antagonist in every situation, but like, I do believe there are good things, but I do believe that we should put into consideration what the danger that it also holds, because there are a lot of things that could go wrong. At the end of the day, we created this AI. Sure, we made it. So if one bad person is going to decide to like fuck it up and do something bad, then like the entire system is going to be fucked up and it's going to be under your name, and you can't risk that.
That's a thought process that is absolutely relevant, but that has been the case for ever since technology has been invented. In the 1920s, we were thinking, the 2000s, we were thinking that Google was going to replace teachers, for instance, because you had access to all the information. Truth is, Google is just a tool that enables us to find information faster, but the actual thinking process that we're doing is still something that we need to teach students. It's still something that cannot be replaced. When it comes to ChatGPT writing like content creation, for instance, we still have the opportunity of fact-checking, of correcting, but there is a lot of content being written every day through emails, through like newsletters and everything that does not need to have the same level of independence of than what an artist would write, for instance. I don't need to be a writing major to write a 5-minute newsletter that half of the people I send it to will ever open in the first place. So we do need to differentiate those user cases to make sure that we protect artistry. DALL-E made a big splash last year because it was producing very high quality images.
I was on that.
But the other side, the stick, is also that we need to make sure that our legislation is coherent to make sure that we protect those people. You were taking the example of McDonald's. Personally, I don't need to be talking to someone to have my order ready the way I want it in most cases. But at the same time, if there is a need to talk to someone, to have a social interaction, if it makes the client feel better, then absolutely we should be enabled to have that option. However, in most user cases, it makes perfect sense to have a computer instead of an actual person. So where we draw the line is an absolutely valid discussion, but I don't think the tool in itself is a danger if we keep those in mind, basically.
Yeah. Like I'm not against the entire idea. My only worry is about like taking jobs away from the people, because there has been multiple situations where like for example, the McDonald's.
Let me tell you one thing. Technology is not frightening, it is your choice, and your choice only to be terrified by it. That is your choice. And that's what the important aspect on this is, and what I think everybody was trying to bring across. It is indeed your responsibility to acquaint yourself. And to learn about it and check out what's useful to you and what's not. That is entirely up to you. And if you refuse to do that because you're instantly repulsed or afraid or pushed back, whatever, that is really not the fault of everybody else, but that's your fault and your responsibility. And I'm really sure that if you take your curious mind and actually dig into this and tinker, like you tinkered as a child with paper and crayons, and see what results you get and see what works and what doesn't work, you are not only not going to be afraid anymore, you are going to be the next one up here on stage, telling everyone who has a creative mind and who's a writer how everybody can improve the game by using these effective tools. But that is really the one thing that you have to do for yourself. If you don't do it, you're going to stay afraid.
Of course, but sir, well, first I'm gonna excuse you for interrupting me. I am not afraid. The only worry that
You said terrified, that was the word.
no, well, terrifying how the machinery can actually work, but that's not what I said. My only worry is when it comes to like the jobs of the people. Like, are we taking away jobs from the people in order to have AI do the job instead, just because it's going to be easier? We're going to take away jobs from the people.
No. And certainly not from you. And that's what I want to encourage you to find out.
I am very interested because I do think it's an incredible like mechanism, I do think it's incredible, but the idea that some program written an entire chapter for my book.
Use it for you. Be the next one up on the stage and only if you choose to. Only if you choose to.
You said it so yourself. The program didn't work in your case, right? Because it was creative writing and because it was not at all consistent with your expectations. So evidently, no one is going to use that tool for that because it makes no sense to use it in the first place. So yeah.
Sorry, I don't mean to.
No, it's okay. No.
Sorry, I just have so much.
But in terms of creative writing, in terms of actual human factor, this is where we can make a difference and not be like. There's a lot of content that does not need to be supervised by a human. There is a lot of actual interactions that don't need to be supervised. So sure, some jobs are going to disappear, but those jobs do not make sense in the context of where we want to go. I'm sure that people, if asked, would like to work in restoration, would prefer not to work in McDonald's in the first place. They want to work in a job that makes sense to them. And so if making burgers makes sense to them, they could do it in an environment that is less oriented towards productivity and more oriented towards the food. If the actual interaction in McDonald's does not need to be there anymore, because if the job does not make sense for a human to do it, they will not find meaning in what they're doing in the first place.
But what about people that don't know any better? What about people that don't know how to?
This is why we need to create instructions. We need to create guidance to make sure that the people understand the tools for what they are, instead of just letting them deal with it by their own on their own side. This is the entire purpose of education, and education is meant to be how to become a citizen that can interact with the world in 2023 today. So this is where where my actual job is every day.
May I just add?
Yes, of course. Go ahead.
Yeah, I think it's actually a great question because many people they are concerned about this, but like, for example, take it this way. Look at late 80s or 90s when the internet went out, and there were a lot of people concerned about this technology, and there was also a lot of jobs that were gone, but like bookkeepers or stores. And then it became online shopping and so on. But it's the same now. About if I think all the major tech industries are like Elon Musk and so on, they are already talking about this, if they should stop this technology for now or for a little bit or not. But I think, in my opinion, with the right regulation and legalization, we can actually prevent any concern or harm for us. But anyway, I think this technology is the future in a good way for us. So there is no need to be concerned in any way. That's it.
Yeah, thank you so much, Said. So yeah, let's maybe give the people to
Yeah, I think you have to cover the important way.
So I have a kind of three-part question, or I had a lot of time to prepare it now, so one kind of part for each of you. So you said, and I think it's really interesting, you have to be careful, right? And this is about being careful and the risk. So from your side, being on the engineering side, how do you be careful with the engineering of AI? Is it morals and then coded morals, coding and then morals in the application? How do you be careful in that sense? you know, and how do you bake in carefulness into the process? For you, how do you teach people to be careful? What are you doing in order to educating people, like in the process? Have you integrated morals or coding, you know, AI philosophy into a program? And for you, in terms of the business, like the White House just said, please be moralistic when you use AI. And you know, and Wozniak and Elon Musk is saying, oh my God, we should stop doing it now, even though I was part of creating, you know. And so from your perspective, from the business perspective, is anyone going to do that? So when people say, please be moralistic, but everyone's also saying it's a gold mine, it's a golden age, what you said, is it realistic to ask those people who are trying to exploit essentially an opportunity to be moralistic or be careful? So that's the three. What does be careful mean in the three aspects?
Okay, first of all, great question, thank you. From the engineering side, these AI models are not like the outputs that they produce sometimes have bias, but these models by themselves are not biased. The bias in the model comes from the data that you use to train the model. Yeah, so as somebody who builds model like this, it's important to have data that is representative and does not have bias in it. For instance, ChatGPT currently has a slightly left-leaning political bias. You know, these things exist, so it's important to recognize them. And also, there are, I have to say that there is a lot of research going on AI alignment to ensure that AI at the end of the day follows instructions. Yeah, so it's important to be aware of this while building AI. And also, currently there are no regulations on where, or at least until recently, there was not regulations on where you can deploy AI. It's changing, at least in Europe, and it's important to not deploy AI, and let's be sure this won't cause any harm to humans. Yeah, as an engineer, but also even though we build it every single day, it's also important for us that we push to have regulations here, because this is like medicine or food. It's important that there is an authority who, for all of us, decides what's good and what's not. Otherwise, this is it could easily become the wild west, because everybody can build this on their home, at their home, and then deploy it and wreak havoc. Yeah.
Thanks. From an education perspective, I believe that we should educate by example, basically. So most of us in our teams have started using ChatGPT and Notion AI and everything, not just with the goal of, I don't know, writing our newsletter or anything, but also to see what type of answers it would take. Write a cover letter in 5 paragraphs detailing my LinkedIn profile for this specific job or something like that. And what we notice is that, first of all, it usually writes better English than we do, as internationals, as people without PhDs, as people who do not read as much as we used to anymore. So, point ChatGPT. However, we noticed also that it tends to sound very corporate and unseasoned, let's say. So once again, the human factor is that we need to make sure that we go after ChatGPT and correct a few things to make sure that it sounds like a human wrote this. Finally, in a job ad, for instance, if we make ChatGPT analyze it and write a cover letter to this, it might not decide correctly what is important information, what isn't. So here we still need to teach people how to decide that. And if they write everything through ChatGPT, it's not going to work. Based on that insights, what we do is basically talk about ChatGPT and its limitation. It is going to be very good if you need to write down text that you want to modify that after. If you're struggling with the anxiety of the white page in front of you, it can be a great Kickstarter. If you are applying to a job in a new industry and you don't necessarily know which type of vocabulary to write, it can also help you. However, you have to be mindful of the following caveats to make sure that you use it correctly. Once again, it's a question of prompt and a question of user literacy. And so this is where we come in.
So I have good news and bad news for you, and I'm really going to talk about the moral side of it, yeah, as you wanted. So I'm a bit surprised that apparently everybody is very much or so much focusing on ChatGPT here. As you saw, that my examples come from the world of science and research and software development, and that's also where my good news comes from. There's a whole range of applications, maybe, I don't know, 90%, where these questions make no difference. You know, software development doesn't have to be, I don't know, unbiased. How would biased software development look like? Yeah? Same for like designing tests in a physical or like chemist environment. And same also for like many indeed text applications. Just yesterday, since I'm planning to travel to Romania for the first time this year, I had ChatGPT write a tour guide to Romania for me. That was perfectly moral. I can assure you, how could it not, right? So that's the good part. Yeah? A large, huge amount of scientific, functional, explanatory, whatever output from generative AI is going to be just fine. However, when it comes to personality rights, we're looking into the abyss. We're looking into the abyss, and Pandora's box is open, and there's no way to say this more drastically. Yeah? It is too late. It is really too late. Like I already mentioned the P word, the pornography word. We are very much on the way to people taking a picture of their neighbor's daughter and inserting it into whatever scenario that they dream of, and then later share it on the internet. And if we try to regulate that, I mean, number one, the regulation would be extremely hard to set up and to enforce, extremely expensive. And then there will always be players who deliberately go against it. You know, like I'm already joking that if I was Kim Jong-un, the dictator of North Korea, what I would do is make North Korea the world's free haven for any illegal activity on GPT. Yeah, I would like make like the biggest servers, the freest system, everything open source, so that any pervert and any free thinker or whatever, you know, can create in my country for a fee whatever they want. That is that somebody is going to do it because the desire is there. Yeah, and I don't know if how deep. I mean, you probably know the systems here, yeah, but already we have like open source systems that are way more powerful than the officially approved and reined in. Like when we talk about DALL-E and Midjourney, come on, yeah. Like everybody I know is working with unstable diffusion, which allows it to create any sort of pornography. There's already platforms, international platforms that fill up by the second with 50,000 new pornographic images. We're not yet at the point where, as far as I'm aware, that you can really insert like the picture of the neighbor's daughter into this, but that's a question of honestly weeks. And sharing those, I mean, I don't need to explain to you, like we've been sharing stuff for 20 years. And so 90% is totally okay, 10% is an abyss that nobody knows how to deal with. And we will only know once the impact hits us. And the problem that we're dealing with, many of them, like we have several ones, yeah. But the problem at the moment, everybody's discussing how we can manage to like do the one thing without enabling the other. You know, like how can we? And that is where I think that the European Union again is being too heavy-handed because they're treating AI as AI. They're not really differentiating between the 500,000 legal functional use cases and the 10,000. Semi-criminal or really criminal, or we don't even know yet if it's criminal, because if we make a pornographic picture where no human was involved, are we still exploiting anyone? I don't know. Yeah, those will be the questions that come up, and interesting questions. But that's what's going on. Yeah, like so for someone who's a skeptic, like anyone who is examining what's going on, there is indeed reason for discomfort and fear And all of us can find ourselves in fake pictures where we're showing doing things that we never did. Still, they're being shared all across Instagram. That is very much the case. But 90% of the time, 99% maybe, is going to be me write me a tour guide to Romania with a special focus on old towns and food. That's the full answer.
Okay. I think we also have some questions from Zoom. If you guys, we have
more. It was participated in our meetup.
Do you panel see a similarity with Beta House 100 years ago? Sorry. I got it well, sorry. Faced with the concept of mass production. Who wants to take this question? You like, yeah.
I guess I can. From a very limited known technical perspective, there are some aspects that are similar. Because we are at the dawn of a golden age, as you said, where text and content and data will be created much more freely than it has ever before. So then the question is, how do we differentiate data that can be created with AI and does not need to be supervised or does not need any human input? And how do we keep and conserve our artistic registry, our ability to create art? What does it mean for art to be AI generated? And also, very basically, how do we what are the ethics of everything? So in that sense, there are some similarities, but here we are also talking about the future of jobs and what they mean, and I see very little artistic factor in sorting through applications and trying to see a better solution to the cover letter that we all hate. And I'm sure that AI will solve that very quickly. I see very little need for art in writing basic content creation for companies, because this is the future of jobs, in a way that is, there is no need for it at this time. Maybe in 20 years, once we're all used to the way AI writes and we can go through a YouTube video and say, oh, this is a deep fake, they're blinking way too regularly or something, we'll have more need for art and individual creation, and we'll go a little bit back. But for now, we're still at the very dawn of this age where art is, I don't want to say, like, in terms of jobs, in terms of companies and capitalistic systems, art has very little need to, how can I say that? The impact on it is not the impact on the artistic sector and to go back to the Bauhaus is much less relevant to what we're discussing today, basically.
Can I add an example?
Yeah.
I don't know, some of you may have read about this scandal that recently developed around a Berlin artist winning the Sony World Photo Award for an AI-generated picture. Have you read about this?
Yes, I have.
So this guy is my friend Boris. We've been friends for 20 years, and actually he was with us at this masterclass that I initially talked about. So he explained to us every detail about how he created his picture. And he is a traditional photographer, artist, has been doing exhibitions. So he's not just some dude who bumped into a photo creator, clicked, create, sent it to Sony, and went away with the money. That is not what happened. In fact, the creation process for this picture took literally months, because to create like a kind of 40s style aesthetics, sepia aesthetics, he actually scouted Berlin flea markets and online auctions for months and collected authentic photographs of private people from the 30s and 40s and trained his own model on this amount of data. So the creative process behind this piece of art was as intense as it could potentially be on any other artistic product, so I'm not saying that it's not ultimately not possible to take it or to shorten this, but we live in a world where art is also that can be like gluing a banana to the wall, and how much of like an artistic process is that? So many people don't know this, but what was really like the picture that we created was the result of a year of dedicated research, technology ownership, physical activity, investment. Like he bought all these pictures. It's like Berlin's largest pile of private photography from the 30s and 40s. And I don't know indeed how economically relevant this will be. Like Wallace wanted to, like I think his message is we need to have a separate category, but we do need it. We can't just say, well, this is not art, so we're not going to talk about it. We still can do art as it was, but we need to create a new space, like for the last time we needed to when, well, photography was invented.
Just to finish on this, and there's a lot of parallels to be made, maybe not entirely with Bauhaus, but I'm thinking about the surrealist movements and Dada after the war, where it wasn't about artistic, like how competent you were at drawing something. Picasso did that when he was 13 and then went on to deconstruct everything. That was what was interesting. What was interesting was the context, the research, the ability to see things in your own eyes instead of just being photorealistic. And so art and AI are going to mesh and go to war together and mesh again. And we're going to witness all of that. But the human factor, once again, is probably the most important thing still today.
Yeah, so I would like to invite now, here I have like a musician, it's a friend of mine, and we have been discussing a lot about this topic specifically, and he wanted to maybe give his opinion how he's using now these technologies for his work. So.
Hi, so my name's Ricardo Thor, I'm also Colombian, and I just moved to Berlin from New York, where I just finished my PhD in electronic arts, and I have also been worried like you about how you can be an artist and be creative with all this technology that's rising. And the thing is that it's not good, it's not bad, it's just it's there, and there's nothing we can do about it. So yes, I mean, sorry to disagree with some of you. Yes, there are going to be jobs that are going to disappear. For example, a good friend of mine, she does those voiceovers in the radio, and she used to be able to like make a living out of it, like actually very comfortable. And now suddenly the apps that are making voiceovers are extremely capable and even more efficient than people. So she's going to be out of the job very soon. Going with that idea with the voiceover. So I don't know how many of you have been seen on social media. Those are not fakes, but like maybe Mariah Carey song versions sung by Rihanna, for example. Or like Stephanie just told me, there's a new David Guetta version of the song with Eminem. So this is also happening. So this is kind of like a comment and also maybe a question for the panelists. So the first thing I've seen from the industry already adapting on the music industry has been changing a lot ever since Napster and streaming and losing value and everything that we do as musicians, which is not great, but it adapts because that's also what we do as human beings. So I recently saw, I don't know if you know Grimes was Elon Musk's girlfriend. So she recently decided like, okay, people, so if you're gonna release songs with my voice, we're gonna make a deal and I'm gonna get 50% of the royalties, which I think is both hilarious and also very smart, because at the same time, she's a brand, she's a person, and then she's just gonna be like, okay, use my voice however you want to, so that's not an invitation of more work from her, so she's gonna get royalties out of that. But also the fact that you can just sit at your home and take her voice and use it by using this technology and creating your own stuff. So Yeah, I guess my question is like, how do you see policies moving in the future to somehow maneuvering that change?
Well, I can talk about text. The ChatGPT was trained on a lot of data from Twitter. Elon Musk just announced a couple of weeks ago that they're not going to let OpenAI use the data as much as they used before without paying a lot of money. Yeah. Similar stories with Reddit, for instance, and many companies are also closing down all the access that they gave to these large language models. Previously, it used to be that you can just scrape the entire internet, and currently there are companies that are very careful because people learn from you. Yeah, like companies like OpenAI, they use the model to make money, but you don't get anything. But even though you were the source of the information, yeah. It's actually interesting to hear what he said. I think it makes sense. Yeah, if you are the source of information, if somebody else is using your voice, for instance, in Grimes' case, it's only fair that Grimes gets paid a bit. I think this would this would be the case, I think, for also textual data and also images. I think Getty Images is also in this battle where they are against generated images that are trained on their free information. So I think it makes sense, from my point of view, that they get royalty. But it's also messy. Once the model is trained, it's hard to separate. If the model spits out the information, it's very hard to say where the information is coming from. So it has to be done before the model is trained, not afterwards.
A musician. So some people know, others don't. I've been a guitar player for my entire life. Yeah, I play rock guitar in several bands, and creating music or making money with music has always been like a side aspect of my life before I became anything else. And number one, like the scenario that you're describing with Grimes, I was really surprised that it got any publicity at all, because samples are being paid through royalties for as long as I can think. Yeah, like I mean, we've had so many songs like "Every Breath You Take" by, who was it, Kanye or P. Diddy? I don't know. Yeah, but of course he's paying money to sing, right? I mean, this whole sampling sounds, parts, pieces, voices from others, and then calling it featuring this and that has already been a business for a long time. I think that what we're seeing here is rather a possibility for people to get a hold of their intellectual property back. Because a friend of mine, and that might be interesting for everyone who's playing music here, actually the bass player in my band, he has just run a startup called Jam a Hook, and what they do is they access the giant libraries of unpublished professional music and let you work with it. What is that? Like when a record is created, like 40 minutes of music go on the record, but normally 10 hours of music have been created, alternative endings, alternative guitar solos, a saxophone part, and they never are published, so they still belong to the musicians that created them and lie in huge databases that so far could never be monetized again. Free music created by super professionals, and their goal is to simply let you create any sort of song, just create a blues song, and ask for a trumpet solo by a really famous trumpetist that fits exactly the style and speed of your song. Ding dong, trumpet solo, and the guy who made the trumpet solo is immediately in the game and gets 20 cents per play, 5 cents per play, 2 cents per play, what do I know, from music that so far he couldn't monetize. So that's also happening. I think that the empowering factor here is much bigger, like thriving on the gigabytes of unused creativity than the occasional case of somebody taking an outtake from, like another song. Again, the moment that the publisher says, yeah, well, I took that voice from Grimes, he will be brought to court or, like get into the usual game of having to pay royalties anyway. So, but like unearthing the massive amount of unused creativity that's still out there, that's the big deal. And I hope that you're going to use it soon. Jambo, my friend Shoni.
It's my favorite line.
Sure.
I mean, I understand that again, I don't want to play this is good or this is bad, because it's not about it, but the examples you just mentioned are not really relevant to how this technology is going to be applied. Because yes, sampling existed before, and yes, people are getting taken to court for that. But samplings are something just works differently. It's recognizable and used, and it has copyright. And there's also policy behind it, how it's defined, where is plagiarism, where is sample taking, how it should be used. And that was my question: how would you see that maybe it should go to the future? The problem with AI is that it's not a sample. It's like her voice, and there's also no way of controlling that. That's the big difference with it.
I mean, unless new laws will be implemented, then that would be thing, you know? Unless new laws would be implemented.
Well, this is the point.
That would be
It has to be.
I'm not necessarily against like the use of AI when it comes to music. I think it's funny, the example you mentioned. I heard one of like Lana Del Rey over Britney Spears, which is the weirdest thing ever. But in order for that to actually be taken seriously, I think new laws need to be implemented that protect the artists rather than.
Funny thing, you were just like completely against it.
Well,
as
the
a
thing
writer,
is,
but for music,
no,
it's
I
fine.
never said I was, I never said I was against it. I said that it can be slightly terrifying. Its capability, what it's able to do, can be slightly terrifying, you know, especially to a human. Because as of now, we don't have any laws that actually protect the use of AI. We don't have any laws that like protect, for example, as you said, like the Grimes and everything. There's no law that says that, okay, the voice of Grimes cannot be used in order to create a new song, you know? So like anyone can create Grimes, Lana Del Rey, Britney Spears' voice. Yeah.
I don't know, it would be more different from the side of the technology part. Like, is it even possible to
Well,
control?
the thing is, we're
create any kind of measuring
there
for
needs to
those
be,
things?
yeah, I do think there needs to be new laws implemented on that.
Yeah, no, of course, of course.
Yeah, I mean, it becomes harder and harder. So Italy banned ChatGPT. Maybe you read about this. And ChatGPT was not available mentally. And why is this feasible? It's because ChatGPT is on the internet. Yeah, and Italy can ban the website. But Facebook released a language model like ChatGPT called Llama, which is much smaller, and people have already run this model on their laptops, on their computers. So when the technology becomes more efficient, and the more you're able to run this technology on your own laptop, it's very hard. It becomes really hard to enforce. Yeah, then people can generate, like Christoph, that they can generate their own apps, they can generate their own music, videos, text. It would become really hard to enforce. And this is definitely impending. Now it's not a question of if, it's a question of when. Because the processes are improving in efficiency. We are getting more and more powerful processes, and models are becoming easier to be deployed on your own laptop. So this is it'll definitely be harder to enforce.
So to think that the exponential rate of evolution of this technology at the moment is much faster than we can comprehend or adapt.
This is also the point. So
Most of the answers were concerned about the level that the AI had at the moment. Did not concern about, did not take into consideration the fact that it's every day there is new technologies, new ways of using AI. For example, yesterday I heard about one, or last week I heard about one tool that generates music out of text prompts, and I just Googled it to get its name now, and there are 12. So, I like cried a little bit on the inside when I realized that I liked the music, because I didn't want to like it, because to me music was something magical that has a human touch to it, like science, the human factor to it. But after hearing that, I realized that there is no human factor to music. It's just algorithm numbers that we generated make us feel the way we feel when we hear the sounds. So when he terrified about jobs, I think he's right. And we will lose a lot of jobs, and I think the art sector will greatly be affected negatively from it, because at the moment, it doesn't seem like there is much humanity in art. It's just a sequence of numbers played on a speaker on a screen that provokes some feelings into us, so that has no. It will take the motivation away from people to do art, I think.
Yeah, I completely agree. I agree in the fact
Can I
that
make a comment?
yeah, of course.
So I think the point you guys discussed, it's very important, and ChatGPT, of course, can take the job of many artists, but in the same time, I think many other technologies take the job of us, not only in arts, but in arts, like in anything else, in design, in creating different things. Maybe to go to some basic aspects, and I think the person that asked the question referred to that. To create art, you combine letters. You combine letters, you create a word. You can combine words and you create a sentence. And you create a sentence and you can you combine sentences and you create a book, right? And I guess that's what ChatGPT does. And I actually worked in IBM where we're looking at data, what ChatGPT does to identify, look at the history of humans and see what that would lead to the next disease or how that is correlated, and also look at images and detect cancer that maybe a doctor cannot detect. So I think ChatGPT for this instance is actually augmenting the artist's capabilities. So if it's taken like an adversary, it can be taken like that, but also it can be taken like a help, like an augmentation. And anybody that writes books professionally or is really an artist, which it's kind of a challenge, because I think somebody said everybody is an artist. All of you today here are artists, but all of you are a different kind of artist. And I think somebody mentioned about Picasso. Picasso, when he started to paint his cubism concepts, he was rejected by many people, but because he was a different kind of artist, right? If you create something that people are not familiar with, they'll say, hey, that's not right, but that's not true, because you are a different kind of artist and you are individual. So as long as you express yourself, you create an art. This ChatGPT express itself like a AI engine. So there is a different art into it, but to really be an artist, to write a book or create something, somebody said you have to write until you run out of your memory. So when you run out of your memory, you actually start to create something really creative. And what AI does, it actually mixes up words and sentences and creates something. But I think humans are able to run out of their memory and tap into their deeper knowledge, some subconscious aspects that actually artificial intelligence doesn't really reach to yet, I think. So I don't see it like, of course, it's going to take jobs for many people, but if we take it like a job taker is one aspect, but also if we can see it like a job enhancer and augmenting capability, I think that's also a good possibility. But I think it's a great.
Oh,
sure.
I just want to give everyone an advice. Look at, for example, myself. I am an aircraft engineer, but I transit into this space. So my advice is, instead of being concerned about this, that everyone is going to lose their job, try to evolve and learn new stuff, so you can also be part of this AI, metaverse, and everything in this space. This is my advice.
Thank you, everyone. And I know there are more questions. Actually, I'm really sorry, but it's 6 p.m. So we are super out of time. I would recommend everyone to join us on the LinkedIn event. We can continue the conversations because this topic is actually huge. And if we can go like architecture, I know there is a question there. Yeah, of course, it happens. It has an impact in every profession. We cannot cover all of them in 2-hour session. I want to give a special thanks actually to Data House where we are because they are sponsoring this event. And of course, to all our panelists, thank you very much. Thank you for coming. Thank you to the online